What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today, well, I figured we'd give a little bit of an update on the green truck that you see on the lift behind me and what is going on, like how long's the transmission been out. I know a lot of people are wanting to see stuff on this. I think a lot of people are fans of this truck, and look, it's one of my favorites. I don't foresee me ever selling this truck, but we've had some issues here lately, and this truck has came a really long ways. For you guys that haven't maybe been watching the channel, I bought this truck. I specifically wanted a green one. I wanted a 99 to 02. I want a gray interior, and so they were really tough to find. And so I found this rust-free example that was owned by an old man. It had a camper shell. It was kind of like parked by sound, I would call it, where you hit something and you realize you've hit it and moved, but it had no rust. So we've came a really long way. This truck was a 6-cylinder. It's a crank window truck. We've done, obviously, the drop. We had it resprayed in the original color, shaved the tailgate. It's got a spray and bed liner now. And I did a V8 swap. And so when I did the V8 swap, I bought a wrecked truck that was somewhat local to me with the 5.3. I slid a cam in it, put all new stuff. So like had the heads refinished, nothing real major, put headers on it and so on. And drove it around for maybe 1,000 miles, and the trans was not good. I don't really think it was great when I put it in, but it was leaking. And so I decided, because when I originally put this together, I put an oil pan on with an insert for a single turbo, because that's ultimately what I thought I would do eventually, is put a single turbo on this. And because I was going to do that, I didn't want to go back with the stock 4L60 transmission or even a built one. So if you guys know, the 4L60 transmission, even when you have it built by like a high-end shop, it just generally doesn't last. And so I thought, well, we're going to do a 4L80 swap. It's relatively simple. There's a lot of parts out there. The availability is good. So I bought a Circle D billet converter. I had a buddy that had a 4L80, and I bought it from him, and we put it in, and it didn't work. So, and my buddy would never maliciously sell me something that didn't work. He actually drove that thing. But here's what happens when you put a used transmission in. I put it in, I pulled the pan, it was really dirty, but I put a new filter, new fluid. And a lot of times when you drain the fluid, like the old fluid, all your friction material that was left in that pan that was going throughout the transmission, that's all gone. And so there's no friction material. So a lot of times, when people want to flush a transmission when it's acting up, it generally goes pretty soon thereafter. So I think maybe that's part of my issue, but the transmission guy said that the pump looked like it was smashed, which there's no way I smashed the pump. I did not force the engine and the transmission together. I actually had to shim the converter out a little bit to get it in spec. So I know that's not the issue, but either way, we took it to a local transmission guy. And the only reason I used him as opposed to a major shop is because my dad had really good luck with them on his SSR. We put a transmission in my dad's SSR, actually did it on this channel, and I was in his ear saying, don't buy that, buy a reputable shop like FLT up in Illinois, or RPM, or use somebody like that has a good name. Now look, my dad is he didn't want to buy, he's not going to modify his, and I get that. So he decided to use this local guy, and I thought, well, if the local guy works out and he seems like he knows his stuff, maybe I'll try him. So everything worked great on his SSR. So I tried this local guy. He came out and got my 4L80 that I pulled out of this thing, takes it home, and he opens it up and he's like, look, there's a bunch of junk in this. I need another core. This one's just, there's too many parts that I don't think are going to work. And I feel like the guy knows his stuff. So I bought him another core, and I don't hear from him for like a week. So I sent him a message. He's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to open that other core up. Another week goes by, he opens the core and he says, this one's junk too. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just can't win trying to find a good core. So I said, well, look, if there's parts that can be replaced, like just buy them new. If it's a pump deal, buy a new pump. Or if it's a valve body, buy a valve body. Whatever I need, I'll pay for it. Just go ahead, because I'd already gave him half the money down for what he said it was going to cost. And that's just how he worked. And I get that, you need some operating money. So this goes on for like a month, and I don't hear from him. And honestly, there was other stuff going on, so I didn't care. I wanted to get it done, but at the same time, I don't want to rush anybody. So I sent him a message and said, hey, anything new on the transmission front? And he's like, yeah, I think that we can make these parts work and get you a good transmission. And I didn't like the way that sounded, like make these parts work. Like, if it isn't gonna work, let's not, I said, don't put junk in there. And he's like, no, I would never do that. But he's like, the parts that you have that are bad, I think I've got some extras laying around. Give me like a week and I should have it together. So a week comes and goes and I don't hear from him. So I sent him a message and said, hey, so what's the deal? And he said, you know what? I think honestly, I'm just going to bring you your money back and your parts. And I just don't think it's going to work. Okay, that works. Honestly, at this point, I just want to get a transmission. So I wait a couple days, and actually 10 minutes after he'd sent me that message, he says, you know what? I actually think I do have some parts. And here we are back again. It's like, well, do you or don't you? And if you do, then why isn't it already get together, you know? And so I said again, like, I don't want you to just throw parts in there and make it just to get it out the door. And he's like, no, I'd never do that. Another week goes by, because he told me, give me another week. Another week goes by, I don't hear from him. So at this point, I'm like, I tell you what, just give me my money back. I'm going to find another option. And he said, sure, fine. And so he brings the money back and my 2 cores that I took to him, which ultimately, guys, I did want an extra core hollowed out for like mock-up reasons, but that is what is sitting over here. On the top of the blue bucket is the original transmission that we put in that truck, and all the parts from within it are in the blue tub, and then the gray tub beside it is the second one I bought that was bad, or he says was bad. And I think ultimately, he explained to me, and look, I think he knows his stuff. I just think maybe he makes more money on like 4L60 builds and stuff like that he didn't want to mess with it. But I wish he'd have told me that out of the gate, because we'd be hopefully a little further by now. But either way, I've got 2 junk transmissions. I do have 2 good cases. So that brings me to like, what do I do? Well, at this point, I want this thing together. I'm sick of it sitting on the lift. I want to use the lift for other stuff. I want to work on other stuff. And this is really, I can't move it really. I mean, I'd have to push it on and off that. And I just want it together, because I've got a parts truck out there. I want to do the power window swap. I want to get started on that. And I swore I wouldn't start on the power windows until the transmission was back in the truck. So that brings me to what I'm thinking I'm going to do. And this was something that was brought up to me a while back. Somebody mentioned this, and I didn't want to, and I'll explain that. But I've got another 4L80 right here. And the thing is, it was going to go in the Trans Am. I already cut the little ears off the side, because you have to do that in order to make it fit in an F body. And so I didn't want to use it because of that. But you know what? At this point, guys, I know this transmission worked, which supposedly the other one did too. But I actually drove this thing like 3,000 or 4,000 miles. I got it out of a 1-ton truck that I bought, which I parted out on this channel. That 6-liter back there, this 4L80 came out of a truck that I was actually driving around. So my plan was to put this in the Trans Am, but now what I'm thinking is, I talked to Jake's Transmission, which is a huge 4L80 shop, pretty well known. I talked to them about taking like a basket core with the stuff that I have back there, and they said they would take that. I think primarily what they want is the case. So what I thought I would do is send all the guts out of both and a case to them, have it redone, use that for the Trans Am, because we're quite a bit further out on the Trans Am than we are on the truck. Get this in the truck with the converter that we've already got back. It's been flushed out. All the junk is out of it, and put it in here and see what we get. I'm hoping, guys, this is going to work out for me. If it doesn't, I may honestly look at going back to a 4L60 and letting that set. I mean, just have a 4L60 in it for now, because I'm just to the point where I want it running and driving. I haven't got to enjoy the truck since I built it. And that's ultimately what I want to do with these cars. I want to drive them, and if you can't drive them, it just kind of sucks. The same thing with the Trans Am. I want to drive this stuff, so I want to get it together. But either way, I think that's my plan at this point. Jake's is a little bit out, so I'm not going to be missing anything. And ultimately, I don't want to spend you know, $6,000 on a Gear Star or something like that that's ready to go out of the box for this truck. I just don't want to do that. I would be more apt to spend that kind of money for a Gear Star for this or something like that, or a Jake's. So I think that's what the plan is as of right now. But I wanted to give you guys an update on what's going on. It's very frustrating. I've got a ton of stuff torn apart in here. It's starting to get to me. I think we're gonna have to do some organization here really soon to get some stuff moved around to make this a little more, a little less stressful when I walk out here and see all these parts. I really need to, now look, a lot of these parts are from my dad's truck, which is at paint right now, by the way. So if you see these boxes laying around, there's a lot of that. But I just kind of want to clean stuff up, make stuff look a little nicer out here, and definitely get this truck back on the road. So let me know what you guys think about that option, about putting that trans in, or have you had any luck with any transmission shops around you? Like I said, I specifically told my dad not to cheap out, and here I go that route, and it burns me. And it didn't burn me on money, but it burned me on time. I think it's been about 2.5 months now, honestly, that this has been not running. And before that, obviously, we didn't have a transmission that worked great in it either. So it's been a long time. It's probably going close to a year before I've actually driven this thing down the road and it shifted properly. So let me know in the comments if you guys like this video. Let me know what you think I should do down there below. And if you guys are not subscribed, go down there, hit that subscribe button. Of course, like always, ring that bell icon that notifies you every time we drop a new video. And stay tuned to see what we do out here next.